Hello, I'm Sheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York. Welcome to One to One. Each week, we address issues of timely and timeless concern with newsmakers and the journalists who report on them, with artists, writers, scientists, educators, social scientists, government and nonprofit leaders. We meet each one to one. The Cherry Lane Theater in the Village represents off-Broadway theater at its finest and most legendary. From the 1920s on, it was home to some of our best playwrights, long before they became legends. The theater has had its share of financial troubles and at one point was in danger of becoming extinct, but it rallied and took on new life under our guest, Angelina Fiordellisi, the theater's executive director, as well as the founding artistic director of the Cherry Lane Alternative. It's just won the 2013 International Center for Women Playwrights 50/50 Applause Award for producing women playwrights. And this year, each of the plays in its mentor program was written by a woman. Welcome.
Thank you.
There seems to have been a huge flowering of off-Broadway theaters in New York over the past 15 or 20 years. I'm thinking about Theater Row, around Union Square, in Midtown, on the Upper West Side, in the Village. Why is this going on, and what's been the impact on the theater scene in New York?
Why is this going on? Well, I think that a number of artists and theater makers are more concerned with making art and less concerned with commerce. And I think that's why. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the institutions across the country, the educational institutions that have theater programs, have generated and inspired a lot of influx of artists that came into New York.
Okay, okay.
I think that has something to do with it.
Other than lower ticket prices, newer and more comfortable theaters, and more legroom, what does off-Broadway theater have to offer that Broadway doesn't?
Oh, that's a good question. I believe there are more opportunities to deal with issues, current issues, in the off-Broadway market because it's less of a risk financially for the nonprofits and for commercial producers who like to produce off-Broadway. I would say because the risks are less financially, people are bolder, braver, able to get away with more without trying to please a certain section of audience.
And probably less formulaic theater, you think?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. What sets the Cherry Lane apart from other off-Broadway theaters in the city?
Well, number one, it's the longest continuously running off-Broadway theater in New York, and it has quite an amazing history. And what we're doing now is we're trying to honor that history with new playwriting programs. When I started in 1996, there were not a lot of new playwriting programs in the city, and there were fewer companies. Actually, I think when I was first starting, there was something like 350 or 400 nonprofit theater companies in the tri-state area, and now there's something like 3,500.
Oh my God.
So it's really grown. And back then, what I discovered was that there was a niche of playwrights that was not being served. There were those who were working under the university umbrella that were getting protection, that were getting productions because they were more affordable. And then there were the playwrights who were being produced, and somewhere in between there, I found was an area I could serve. I started working when I was an actress, and then when I married and started having children, I chose to stay home with my children. And while I stayed home, I started getting involved in new play development at the Carnegie Mellon Showcase of New Plays and at the New Harmony Project. And that's where I discovered it was far more exciting to me than acting, was watching a play grow, sitting in a room with a director, a dramaturg, playwright, and some actors, and just sitting at a table and really working on text and asking questions. And the dynamics were so thrilling to me that I didn't miss acting at all. But I found that there was this group of writers that were lost and didn't get very much production opportunity.
Right.
And that's when I decided one day I'm going to create a program to serve that niche of writing.
I was at, saw a Horton Foote play at I can't think of the
Signature Theater?
Signature recently, and I was reading about the play, and I think it had been incubating for about 10 years or more in several different forms before it finally was produced in the form that I saw it in. It takes a long, it's hard getting a play to the stage, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. It doesn't happen instantly unless you're Edward Albee. And it's what's been wonderful for me over these 17 seasons is I've had something called a master class for playwrights. And each year we bring in award-winning playwrights to give free classes for playwrights in the community, writers and neighbors, patrons of the arts.
Anybody who wants to come?
Anybody who wants to come. And I've grown and I've learned so much about the different styles of playwriting also. And Albee will tell you that, you know, he writes a play in his head for about 18 months. He says the characters start talking to him. And then the play comes out fully born onto the page. So he has that process. And then someone like David Wong will write a play, and he starts by writing a scene. He uses by hand, and allows the characters to talk to him. And then he'll find out whether it belongs in the middle of the play, if there's a whole beginning of a play that enters his consciousness, or the rest of the play, he'll find where that scene and those characters belong, and either right before it or after it. Mm-hmm. So they all have a process, which is fascinating. And some people get their plays done really quickly. They're on a lucky track, depending on if they come through the regions, and that region is a hot spot for New York producers, for example, Yale Repertory Company or Hartford Stage. A lot of New York producers will go up there and find new material. Mm-hmm. And those people are on a faster track somehow to being produced. And then there are playwrights who write amazing plays who it takes time. I've been working with Charles Fuller. I commissioned him to write a play in 2010. And we are just now putting it up.
Why? What process has it gone? What's it been going through in that time period?
It's gone through a number of rewrites. We've done a lot of work around a table, as I said, with actors, a director, sometimes without a director. Sometimes Charles just wants to hear the play. Mm-hmm. And he is very private about his writing. He wants the play to gestate and be ready before he'll even put it up on its feet before an audience.
Right. And there's so many elements to a play. I mean, there's first of all there's you know the script, the playwright, there are the actors, there's the direction, there's the set, there's the lighting. So many elements, music that go into turning out the play. What percentage? I mean, of the plays that say are I don't know how many plays are being produced in New York at any one point in time, but what percentage of them would you guess are really good plays? And I know that's a loaded question.
Yes. Well, I'd have to give you my opinion, right? Well, in my opinion, I would say that of the plays that I see, probably between 10 and 20% of the plays that I see are really viscerally engaging,
right,
intellectually interesting and involving, compelling. And the rest are people trying to say something, and some of them we understand what they're trying
right,
to say, and some of them we don't.
Right.
They don't quite get there.
I would agree with you on that percentage. I remember when I went to see Wit by she's a first grade teacher. I remember her name, but she's a first grade teacher in Atlanta. And I'm listening to this and I'm saying, this is such a really well written play. And it's rare that it all comes together like that.
Yes.
Very rare.
All the elements. The play itself is the reason that we go to the theater, and it gives everybody a job. The playwright is responsible. That's the most important thing. But then finding the right director for that play. There are so many different mindsets in approaching a play. Who's got the right spirit, intellect, and heart for the play? And then a lot is involved with the playwright's relationship with the director. And of course, the director is the central figure in hiring the designers, bringing in the actors, and the producer, the production is what supports that, is what the glue is that pulls all that together.
Right, right. I would think it would be challenging making almost any theater company work financially. What are the challenges there?
Whew, that's a big one. Because 3 years ago, in 2010, we were finally hit by the recession that started in 2008 when everything turned upside down. We didn't feel it until 2010. And all of a sudden, we were in a $250,000 deficit because people were cutting back their funding. We weren't getting any rentals that were helping supplement the fundraising efforts. People weren't buying tickets as much as they were, so that we had overextended ourselves, and I actually was ready to quit and fold the company and sell the theater and let everything go. And when I made that announcement, I received hundreds of phone calls and emails and letters and people showing up at the theater saying, we can't let this happen, we cannot let this happen, what do you need? And off the top of my head, I said, send me rentals. So what I did is I proceeded with my staff, Sari Lawrence and Johnny Marrero, who've been with me for 10 years, and we dug through all our expenditures and we started hacking at everything. We started cutting all of our programs. We cut back staff. I had a staff of 10. I went down to 2 people. We went into all the bills and found out that we were paying for phone lines that we were not even using. You know, we hacked at everything, and then we started, people started sending me rentals. And in 2 years, we managed to pay off the debt. And so after that, so last season, I was able to bring back my mentor project program. And I decided, well, in 2012, we had one-woman plays. We had 3 one-woman plays. So we started very, what would be the word? We were very careful financially. We didn't want to expend any extraneous spending. So we had 3 one-woman plays, and they did well. And we started building our audiences back again. And then this year, we had 2 one-woman plays on one night, and then 2 women playwrights work that were full-length plays. So we're gradually, and then I commissioned Charles in 2010, and so we took a 3-year route with him, and now we're able to do a main stage production of his play.
Right.
But I'm co-producing it with Rattlestick Theater Company.
Okay. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back with more with Angelina Fiordellisi after the following message. Welcome back to One to One. I'm Sheryl McCarthy, and I'm talking with Angelina Fiordellisi, the founding artistic director of the Cherry Lane Theater. I would assume that finding financial backing for plays is a big part of your job. Who invests in off-Broadway plays? Where does the money come from?
The money comes from individuals who care about the subject matter or who believe in a certain playwright or director, or funders, foundations, corporations, individuals primarily now.
How many plays do you put on each year, and how do you pick them?
In the Mentor Project, we put on 4 plays every season, and that's in our studio theater. On the main stage, our goal is to do 2 plays, 2 main stage plays, one that is developed in one of our programs and one that's from the Cherry Lane history. I haven't been able to do that for a few years. So we're starting back slow. This year we're just going to work on the Charles Fuller play on the main stage.
What would be the average cost, say, for one of your main stage productions, or is there anything like an average cost?
Yes, and that has changed quite a bit over the years. We spend anywhere from $150,000 to $350,000, and that's very modest. I know that other companies, other small nonprofit, mid-sized nonprofit theater companies have managed to raise a lot more money than that, and their budgets are between $500,000 and $850,000.
Who are some of the best playwrights that you're seeing around these days, and some of the most promising playwrights?
Well, that's a good question, because Katori Hall and Rajiv Joseph were in our Mentor Project program, so we feel we discovered them very early on. I think that Anne Washburn is a terrific playwright. Sheila Callahan is a terrific playwright. Bathsheba Doran is an amazing young playwright. A lot of them are getting work in television, so they're able to buy homes and start and support their families.
Which brings me to the question, it's got to be hard to make a living as a playwright. And is that one of the ways they manage to do that, by writing television scripts?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And being hired sometimes as ghostwriters for screenplays as well.
Cherry Lane recently won, I mentioned, a 50-50 Applause Award from the International Center for Women Playwrights for having one of the best records of producing women playwrights. Does this come with, I hope this comes with some money and not just a not just a wooden plaque. Does that come with any money?
No, it
doesn't.
No. We wish.
Why are there so few women playwrights being produced? I gather the figure's about 17% compared to men. Why do you think that is?
Do you know, there are a number of theories on that, and I'm not sure what the exact answer would be. I think within the last 15 years, it might have been because young women playwrights were not encouraged as much as male playwrights were. I don't think that there was a system in place whereby they got the type of affirmation for their work to continue developing their craft. They didn't get as many opportunities as male playwrights because that was the going thing for years and years. Those were the more trusted productions, and it seemed that, boy, there's a certain initiative going around called 50-50 in 2020, whereby women are hoping to support artistic directors and encourage them and knock down their doors to try to get it female parity, for female playwrights.
Tell us about this season's, some of the things that you're presenting this season at the Cherry Lane, and why you chose them.
Well, the most important thing that we're doing is Charles Fuller's new play, One Night, which I commissioned because I'd been working with Charles. He'd been a mentor in my Mentor Project program.
And he did A Soldier Story that we all know about.
Yes, he's Pulitzer Prize winner of A Soldier's Play.
But 30 years ago? Is it really?
Yes. It's A Soldier's Play was then turned into a film, and it launched the careers of Denzel Washington and Samuel L. Jackson, yes. And Charles was one of the founding mentors for the Mentor Project program. in my first year. And he was such an extraordinary human being, and he treated me differently than a lot of men, a lot of my colleagues do. He treated me as an equal, and he sees women as equals. And because of that, I spoke with him at length about different ideas that he had for plays. And when he mentioned that he was throwing around an idea of a play about a woman who was assaulted sexually in the military, I said, I want to commission you to write that play. I want to work with you on that play. And hence our relationship began. So it wasn't until the last year, really, where that became so topical. But he started writing that play actually in 2008.
That's interesting, because it has become a big topic, a hot topic lately.
Yes, and he was writing it because of someone he knew that had that experience. And it's really quite tragic, not only that it's happening to women, but also to men in the military. But what happens to these veterans when they come home?
Men are being sexually assaulted?
Yes. Men are also being sexually assaulted. 40% of the assaults are on men. And that's what he's finding out with all the research he's done.
Wow. How would you describe the health of off-Broadway theater and theater in general in the city? There seems to be a lot of theater going. You know, certainly when I am down in the Times Square area, and well, you can't get down the street. I mean, and probably for a lot of reasons, partly the theaters, but the theaters seem to be full, and people seem to be going to the theater a lot. Is it?
It feels like a renaissance, doesn't it? It feels like it's coming back.
And I remember, maybe 3 years ago, there were so many, 3 to 5 years ago, there were so many fabulous plays around the city. I don't remember a time like that in all the 30 years or so that I've been in New York, when there were so much really good drama, you know, whether it was on Broadway or off Broadway. I suspect you are a supporter of the Theater Development Fund, which allows a lot of people, including like myself, to attend plays they wouldn't ordinarily not be able to afford.
Yes, absolutely.
Where does that come from? That's just a private nonprofit group, or what is it?
The Theater Development Fund? Yes, that's been in existence now for, maybe 20 years?
Right.
Yes, and I forget who the founders are, because I was not in New York theater as an adult. I was, as a young woman, I was here, and then I took time off to support my husband and what he was doing, and I really wasn't in the theater scene when Theater Development Fund started, but we certainly offer many opportunities to every show that we do. And we also offer to groups, special groups, we offer free tickets. For example, in our preview period for one night, we're offering free tickets to veterans and their families, and 5% of our ticket sales are going to the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans Association.
Okay. Are there any other tips you have for our viewers about how to see good theater at an affordable price, other than the TDF?
Yes, TDF. Well, there's the booth in Midtown. And now there's a booth down at South Street Seaport, where you can get tickets for half price,
right,
and reduced rates.
Right.
Yes, the day of performances.
Now, you started out as an actress, right?
Yes, a long time ago I studied acting. I got scholarships to the University of Detroit theater program, which was a Jesuit college in Detroit where I grew up. And then I got a scholarship at the Oslo Conservatory of Theater, which is in Sarasota, Florida, an acting scholarship. And then I got tired of being around young people who needed their hands held, and I moved to New York. And I knew one person in New York was a casting director, and he knew another casting director who was casting for a replacement in Annie. In the third national tour of Annie, and I was in New York for a week. I went to that audition, and I got that job, and I started touring immediately.
Well, which part did you have?
Lily St. Regis.
Okay, okay. Wow.
And so I toured with that for 6 months. Then that tour closed on a Sunday. On the Monday were the auditions for Zorba with Anthony Quinn. And by that Friday, I had landed a job in Zorba. And so then I was out on tour again.
Was this a theater or was this the film? This was
theater.
Okay.
This was the national tour.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. And here you are, heading to Cherry Lane.
Yes.
And we are very grateful to have you,
Thank you.
adding so much to theater in New York. I'm sorry we're out of time, but I want to thank Angelina Fiordellisi of the Cherry Lane Theater on Commerce Street, a picture book street if ever there was one. If you'd like more information on its programs, go to their website at cherrylanetheater.org. For the City University of New York and One to One, I'm Sheryl McCarthy. If there are any people you'd like to hear from or topics you'd like us to explore, please let us know. You can write to me at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10016, or you can go to the website at cuny.tv and click on Contact Us. I look forward to hearing from you.